Hi, I'm Karla Schafer, designer for Auntie Beads, and I'll be demonstrating how to string a multi-stranded necklace. I'm going to be using a variety of beads, and any bead will work for this project. I'm using gemstones in a 4, 6, 8, and a 10. I'm also using an O bead for a spacer. I'm also going to be using 2 large hole beads for this tip that I'm going to give you on how to string this, and it does need to have a large hole. It can also be a bally bead. I'm also going to be using a piece of chain 2 or 3 inches for an extension, a trigger clasp. We're going to be using 49 strand beading wire, 2x2 crimps. You'll need a pair of chain nose pliers and a nipper tool, and what I also find helpful are bead stoppers, or you may use Scotch tape. This project works with any sort of beads. I'm using gemstones, and like I said, 4 different sizes, a 4, 6, 8, and a 10. These are all round, and I'm also using this O bead for a spacer. The best way to do this project, and what this is we're going to have 5 strands, and then we're going to bring it all up into 1 strand when we go to connect it into the clasp. So, best way to lay out your pattern, if you must have a pattern or just the random pattern, is on a straight bead board such as this, so that you can make sure that your beads will fit within when they're grouped together. So what I've done here is already strung my strands. Got 3 together and 2 together. And so what I'm going to do now is, as I said, Scotch tape or bead stoppers work really well for this, keeping everything together. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take off one end, and I'm going to do the 2 strands first. And I'm going to take a crimp, and I'm going to string it over both wires. Then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to flat crimp this. Then I'm going to slide everything down to that crimp. Make sure that it fits. I usually end these strands with something small so that they kind of come together here. There is a little pattern to the madness I have here. Take another crimp and string it over both strands again. And bring it down to the end. And adjust this, and pull your strands. You want to have, a little movement in here, so you might want to kind of wad it up in your hand. Take your chain nose pliers and crimp. And then we're going to trim right at close to the crimp bead. Set these aside, and we're going to do the same with the 3. I'm going to take all 3 and run a crimp over the end. You should be able to get a 2x2 over all 3. You may have to do it a couple at a time. So we've got 2, and then slip this one in. And flat crimp. Then come down again and bring all of the beads to the end of the crimp here, such as that. And if you get a little bit of wire here, that's okay. We're going to bury all of this. So release the stopper, make another crimp, and string it on. Again, all 3. Now I strung these strands about 12 inches, and this all, is however long or however short you want your piece. But the middle here is going to be about 12 inches, and then we make up the rest on the ends going into the clasp. So I want to bring this, I want to find that 1 strand there. Just keep pulling them until you find everything gets tightened back up. There we go. And take your chain nose pliers again and flat crimp. Make sure you get them all. Doesn't have to be real pretty. And then we're going to give it a haircut. Trim all that off. Okay. Now, I've got all my strands connected here. And this is going to be the middle of our necklace. And as I said, this is about 12 inches. So you need to determine how long you want this and then cut your next piece of wire. And we're going to double this. So if I go ahead and cut this about 10 inches, what I'm going to do now is, this is the fun part, or the trick to this multi-strand, is I'm going to take one piece of the wire, I'm going to string it, I'm going to double it to where it catches right in between those three, and then I'm going to do the same with the two strand, and I want it to catch right up by the crimp. So then I've got everything grouped together right here. Then I'm going to take the large hole bead. This is an 8mm, and I'm going to slide it down. And what happens with this is that I'm going to catch my crimps up in this large hole bead. And so like I said, bally beads work well with this as well. You just want to maneuver it around until you get those hidden in there. You've got that. And then what you simply do is string a pattern here at the end, and this is what we're going to tie in to our end, to our clasp and to our chain, because I'm going to have a little extension chain on here. You could also use some other clasp, like a toggle, if you'd like, but you need to be pretty precise on your length. So here, whatever beads I have that will fit over. This is, in this case, I would try to keep a pattern for it to match on both sides, since this is the end. And just string a couple of beads. As you can see, until you get to the length that you need it to be. This is a pretty nice way to end a multi-stranded necklace. You don't have all that bulk up at the clasp. I'm going to add a few more. You can make this as long as it needs to be, or you can even shorten the strands in the middle. It all is in your design and how you want your end result to come out. I'm going to see if one of these 4mm rounds will fit on both wires, and then crimp it. Yep, it does. So now that I've got about 3 inches or so of this, I'm going to go ahead and crimp. Finish this off just like we would any other necklace or a bracelet. I'm going to run my crimp bead over both of the wires. I'm going to take my trigger clasp and run it back through. Now it probably won't fit through my bead again, so if you want to end this, I'm just going to run it through. Now it will fit through the crimp. It just may not fit back through my 4mm bead there, but that's all right. Take it. Make sure you get everything tightened up. Make sure we don't have any slack. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off with the flat crimp, since I've got so much wire in there, and trim it off. And then we'll simply do the same thing on the other side. I simply did the same thing on the other side, and again I did use a pattern here for the ends, so we have both ends done and connected, and I wanted you to see how it looks when you've got your necklace all completed.